Hey everyone, this episode we're answering some of your emails in what will become the most controversial episode ever for reasons yet to be told. From the Bob Varley studio in Orlando, Florida, this is the Diz Unplugged Universal Edition. This is episode 32 of the Diz Unplugged Universal Edition. The Diz Unplugged Universal Edition is brought to you by Dreams Unlimited Travel, experts at helping you plan the perfect universal vacation, whether you need round-trip transportation and tickets to and from Disney or a vacation package on property. You can get all those services and more at www.dreamsunlimitedtravel.com. Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Diz Unplugged Universal Edition. I, of course, am your host, Craig Williams. Of course. And I'm joined at this table-like structure where we do this podcast at with my good friends on my right, Rhino Clavin.
Hello.
And then on my left, Jenny Lynn.
Hey, guys.
No last name today. You're just like Cher or Madonna. One of those. And then back, if you could notice, Rhino is at the table today, so that must mean that Dustin West is finally back from his month-long vacation, according to dogs. But in human time, I believe it was just
a week.
A little bit less than a week, around a week, something around that.
I'm going to throw a heavy Dustin on there.
With a duh.
Yeah. Because I've noticed in like 3 different YouTube videos that they're like, Justin hasn't been around this week.
Yeah, I gotta say, this has been happening since at least I came on board, and there's been a time or two where I've actually lost it on people just because they can't. I mean, if they're watching on YouTube, we clearly have lower thirds going up.
Yeah,
on
that's what I'm saying.
On audio, I understand if you're listening on an airplane
just
or
casually
in the car and there's traffic, you might hear Justin once or twice, or if you think you hear it all the time, it's going to start appearing in your head. But for anyone who watches the video version of the show, you should absolutely know what our names are because they're literally at the bottom of the freaking screen.
Even though Craig doesn't.
Right.
Well, you've been my biggest proponent, Greg.
Greg. Greg Williams.
Thank you very much, Justin. I believe. Well, you weren't here obviously for the Tuesday Disney World show, but Rhino now has about 6 nicknames from Gyno all the way to Rhinoplasty.
That's my favorite one, I think, Gyno.
And JL's just JL, but that's okay. So I'm actually gonna kind of spruce things up a little bit based on a comment that we got on YouTube. I'm gonna save some of the boring stuff that we go through called housekeeping for a little bit later on in the episode, just kind of change things up a little bit so that way we're not just having people wanting to shoot themselves.
Wow, Craig.
It's very considerate of you.
Spoiler alert.
Well, and so we're going to kind of save that for a little bit towards the end, and we're going to jump straight into the buzz actually this week, and we're going to get going right on that. And I wish I would have watched my words better because what's buzzing this week, the first thing, even though it's out in Universal Studios Hollywood, unfortunately they did have a bit of a snafu there earlier in the week whenever a man actually did commit suicide at Universal Studios Hollywood.
Sad.
Oh.
Very sad. So it was actually last Friday, so it's almost been a complete week now, but over at the Despicable Me area, I'm not sure exactly which rail section. We were just there a couple weeks ago for our look at Universal Studios Hollywood that we'll be doing in just a little bit less than a month's time at this point, I think. But anyways, yeah, he was over in the Despicable Me area. He died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound with a gun that he did bring into the park. It was in one of the smoking sections back there, and unfortunately there were people around. It wasn't just like he was off by himself, but there were guests.
Wow. And
including children, unfortunately, which is really an awful part of it. But it still is kind of unclear, I guess, how he managed to get a gun past security. But that's where I really want to jump off into this discussion because
I actually don't think it's that hard to believe.
exactly.
The security that is in place in these theme parks is really pretty much a joke, in my opinion. I mean, it's hit or miss. Sometimes they check thoroughly, sometimes they don't.
It's just a comfort thing.
I think that's how I feel about it. I think it's just there to make it look safe.
Well,
but I
here's-
mean, are they actually? We all know they don't.
I have
These-
a question well, go with your thing, and it might come up later, so I'll just remember it.
Well, we'll start off with the whole aspect of security at the theme parks. At Disney World, I know you don't have to be trained in security to actually get a job in security. At Universal Orlando, you do have to have background certification in security. So what a lot of people will do is they will go to Disney, get hired in through security that way, go through all the classes that they offer so they can get certified, and then they can come over to Universal, which apparently pays a little bit better for security as well. But some of them are on track to being cops, or they want to do something bigger, better with it. So not all of them are a complete joke. So I don't want to disgrace anyone's job. They have a really rough time at Universal, especially at City Walk
I don't
past
mean that-
11 o'clock at night.
I don't mean that
Yeah,
the
yeah.
people are a joke, but how many times have you gone through? I mean, I do this. I have a purse often enough, and I get myself all ready, open the bag, and I go up to. It's this big ordeal. I take out any jackets that are, impeding the view of what's in my purse. I walk up to them, all prepared, and then they barely even look at me and say, "Go on."
I think it's a trust thing. Like, I think that's I don't know. I think the same thing, because I think to myself, if you need anything, just shove it in the back. I don't know if that guy had a license to carry. Maybe that's the other thing, is that people probably have guns in the theme parks all the time. We just don't know because they have a license to have a concealed weapon.
Now I
it's
feel
on
better.
private property. They're
Yeah.
not allowed to.
Oh, but nobody feels them. Nobody gives you a pat down. I don't know. That's sorry. I don't know about that stuff. I don't like to think about that stuff either. But
And I'm not advocating we all need pat downs either. I don't want
No,
it to
no,
go
no.
that route.
yeah,
No, but with security, they're supposed to check your belongings. They're supposed to visually look at you as well to make sure that you're not doing anything. I can't say that I've never brought in stuff that I'm not supposed to. I think I've openly admitted that I've taken alcohol into the Magic Kingdom at one point in
Yeah.
time. I'm not proud of it. It's just
There you
the
are.
life decisions I've made, and I have to live with them. I know weapons get into the parks because working at attractions, we've seen people have knives fall out and they stay on the ride vehicle, and then we have to take them, and then security has to come and claim them. They're not allowed to have that back. And sometimes they lose other things that are also illegal in theme parks, and in some states illegal in general. It's just people bring whatever they can into theme parks if it's a normal part of their actual life. Now back to Universal Hollywood, since that's where the incident happened. We were just there, and as I've now said twice, and their security is easily the most lax of any security I've ever been through at a theme park. It's almost on level with Disneyland, but definitely less. Like, Disneyland doesn't have security guards. They have just normal cast members checking bags. They're not wearing uniforms or anything, which I like that aspect of it, that
feels a little
they
friendlier.
trust. It's friendlier. They trust people. It doesn't feel like whenever they look through, like they're gonna all of a sudden drag you away if you're bringing something in. But Universal does have security officers looking through your stuff, but it's not even whenever you're trying to get through their city walk there, like right whenever you first get in, you're only getting checked. And specifically your bags are only being checked if you're going into the theme park itself.
Right.
So, and it's really easy to just blow on through. And if he just had a gun in his pocket, whatever, just, in a holster in his leg, something like that, of course, no one's going to see it. Security's not going to notice.
I don't
know what,
actually
go
remember where security was when we went. I don't think any of us was carrying a bag when we went that day. But
Yeah, I wasn't.
Do you remember where it is?
Yeah, it's basically in between their arch, which of course is where their turnstiles are to go through, and then the globe. So the globe was right out in front of the taxi drop off and all that stuff. And then it was kind of set up that You had to make a left turn to go through security, and then you're looking right at the arch and the red carpet straight in front of you.
You know what? It makes me wonder. Universal here, as we talked about on a past episode, has just started to introduce those metal detectors, or they're testing it out on the rides. Do you think that this might scare them enough that we might start to see them at the entrance to the parks?
Well, yeah, I think that it... Sorry for the really strange pause there, but I think something like that is going to come eventually. It has to happen at Hollywood. They have a really big problem in that this isn't the first time anyone's had a gun at Universal Studios Hollywood.
Oh, I didn't know that.
A year ago, a guy started shooting in City Walk there. And
God.
no one, I think there was some minor injuries. No one was actually killed. But then I believe police took him down and put him to his grave. And yeah, it's a little morbid, but and I don't want to scare people away from going to Universal Studios Hollywood. It is a fantastic
Yeah,
park.
we should say like this kind of stuff that happened can happen anywhere.
Yeah.
The guy could have done it at like a Publix.
It's happened
You know what
at
I mean?
movie theaters.
Yeah.
It's happened in malls. This stuff happens everywhere. Unfortunately, now it happened in the theme park, so that's why we're reporting on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, City Walk, it's really tough to out there to have metal detectors before you go in there because you literally exit the parking garage and you're in City
True.
Walk.
Yeah.
It would cause ridiculous lines. It could cause backups in traffic.
Yeah.
And so it's not really practical there. But at least in Orlando, I mean, we have it as soon as you leave the parking garages, before you make it into City Walk itself, you have to go through security. So I think things are already set up in place a little bit better with security. But in terms of finding out if people have knives, guns, any other weapons at any theme park, I think if anyone's going to ever test out using metal
You
detectors
have
for
to
that,
bring
it's going to
metal
be
det-
Universal.
Well, and you have to bring out metal detectors for that because you can't give a pat down to everybody that wants to walk through the doors.
And I can't say if it's like an airport situation where you don't have to take your shoes off, they still check your bag. Actually, the perfect example at Halloween Horror Nights.
Mm-hmm.
You use metal detectors
Yeah.
there when you go in to make sure they don't have weapons. It does cause lines and backups, but
That is
I don't think I would mind if that was a thing that happened all the time.
Oh, I would. I would not want to go to Universal if I had to go through the cluster of what happens at Halloween Horror Nights every single time I wanted to go to the park.
But that's because all these people are converging at the exact same time. I mean, it would make Rope Drop a complete nightmare. But at Halloween Horror Nights, if you go an hour into the event and you skip that first hour madness, then it's nice and easy to get through.
And the most likely, I would assume that like, well, I guess you're right. I was thinking like the metal detectors would be on City Walk, like toward the parking garage. But I guess since the hotel you can go through from there and everything, it would have to be a park entrance.
I mean, they can still check the bags out there, but then, once you're through with your bag was checked. So, but I guess then you could switch your weapon from your body to a bag. So then that could cause more issues down the road. Either way, I don't think...
We don't have to figure that out.
I'm not being
I don't think
paid
we
to
should.
figure it out. I wouldn't mind if they
I'm
do
not
it. It's
against
an
it,
inconvenience, but I really could care less. If it keeps people safe and gives people a peace of mind, why not?
Well, I just think about like when I walk in and out of like a store. I know they're not metal detectors, but you know what I mean? Like they have the security systems on the side of the store. Like I never think anything of that. I'm not stealing anything. So I never think like this is going to cause me a situation. If anything, it just lets me know somebody left the tag on my clothes or something like that. Like I think about like that when it does get set up, it'll be more of like that kind of a free flow situation.
Well, I hope so. If it is, then I don't mind it. But this idea of having to go through a Halloween Horror Nights situation every time I want to go to Universal gives me a headache.
I mean, it's not set in stone that it's going to happen. If it were to happen, I don't think I would mind. I mean, it's going to start happening with the rides. From what I'm hearing from people that I know, Dragon Challenge is somehow going to get metal detectors too. And that kind of blows my mind that they could go through theming and all of that stuff. I don't know if they maybe overrode their theming in terms of, they need it for safety. I don't know what's happening with that, but metal detectors are popping up in front of the rides that actually need them. If Universal feels like they need them, outside of the parks just so everyone can go in with a better experience. Why not? I'd say the same exact thing for Disney too. If it's going to keep people safer, go through the extra inconvenience of maybe having to wait 20 minutes in a line,
sure.
and everyone's safe.
Speaking about that, have we heard anything more about the people that were in the area? I mean, nobody else was hurt when this man did this.
No, it was just self-inflicted. So I don't think there was any reason why anyone knows what happened, but walked in, was there, shot himself, and just feel bad for all the families who had to witness it.
Yeah.
It's a shame, but I hope good things can come of all of it, and there can be a little bit more awareness. And we'll go from one sad story to the next sad story. In my terms, maybe even sadder, and that's Fast and Furious. And it's success.
Tasteful. That was tasteful, Craig.
I don't know how it wasn't tasteful.
Anyway, yeah. Go ahead. Tell me your thoughts on the Fast and Furious franchise, Craig.
Fast and Furious 7, also known as Furious 7, opened up this past weekend, and it was a freaking hit. It pulled in $147 million in its opening weekend.
392.3 million worldwide as of this morning, too, I believe.
And domestic, it's already up 174 million. So over the week, on just a random weekdays in April, it managed to still pull in almost 30 or a little bit over $30 million.
It's projected to hit the $1 billion club, whatever. I read this morning. That's its like current.
What kind of world do we live in? Where Furious 7 can make $1 billion?
And Transformers, man, I don't know. Well, my thing is that it's a death. It's the same thing. I mean, The Dark Knight was a great movie, but I think it had a little bit of a bump because it had a great actor in a great role, and he unfortunately passed during that time, and I think it's a similar, not the same situation. I didn't mean to say a similar situation, but I think that it's like people who are invested want to see Paul Walker's, like, this is touted as his last performance.
I get that, but who was going to see these movies to begin with? I will admit, I did see The Fast and the Furious in theaters, the very first one whenever it came out, and I was a sad, strange 12, 13, 14-year-old, whenever that came out, and I really ate it up for a while. But then looking back on it, oh my god, it is not a good movie.
I've only seen the first one like once, maybe twice. My brother really liked it. My stepdad's into cars, but I remember seeing the second one and thinking like, oh, these are getting a little out there. And I've seen the sixth one, the sixth one. I've seen the sixth one. I don't know.
It's just look at the lineups who were in the movie. Paul Walker, he wasn't a good actor. I apologize to anyone that offends. He wasn't a good actor. Vin Diesel, the best thing he's done is Saving Private Ryan, and he got shot in that.
I was going to say Groot. Guardians of the Galaxy, man.
Oh, yeah, that was really showing off his acting skills.
He said that line in like 7 languages, Craig. Right, he stretched himself.
So amazing. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, entertaining as all can be. Acting skills.
Notable parts: The Mummy 2.
The Tooth Fairy.
The Tooth Fairy, yeah.
The Game Plan.
Yeah.
Wait.
All of those
Journey
classics.
to the Mysterious Island. Is that the second one? Journey to?
Yeah.
Mysterious Island?
Yeah.
Something like.
He wasn't
Either
in
way,
Race to Witch Mountain, was he?
Yes,
he was.
Oh,
He was.
yes.
He's definitely known, and then he's going to be a voice character in the new Disney film Moana.
Well, he is.
out.
At least he is Hawaiian.
Yeah, so we're making.
Polynesian, I apologize.
You know what? He's still coming back. He's coming back time and time again to different movies. But the Furious franchise, the Fast and Furious franchise, is not known for its actors. It first started out to be all about cars, and then it kind of shifted into that action genre, and now over the top action.
Oh, yeah.
And people are eating it up. I will never understand it. What's that have to do with Universal? Well, Universal made the movie.
Right.
So that's first off. And second off, on June 25th, as part of the 50th anniversary of Universal Studios Hollywood, the theme park portion, not the studio has been around for much longer, they're opening up a new part of their studio tram tour, the Fast and Furious Supercharged. And that will be the crowning achievement end of the studio tram tour. So after you see all the classics like Earthquake and Bates Motel and The Psycho House and
Do we
Jaws.
see Earthquake?
We did.
Yeah.
That's where
Yeah.
the subway scene
And
is.
who-
Oh, yeah, I'm
Remember
sorry.
The
I'm
fire
sorry.
and
Yeah.
explosion and
Rarely
It
showing
wasn't in
off
my
your
video. It
universal
wasn't in my
expertise.
video footage that I've been working on the video for. So I like, unless I keep reviewing it, I forgot.
And who will be at the opening ceremony for that?
Vin Diesel?
We don't know yet.
I don't know.
We saw the building when we were there. I remember seeing the Furious 7 build. Or Fast
Oh
and
yeah,
Furious.
they
they
made
were
sure they
put that out front and center everywhere
Yeah.
you were.
every 30 seconds. Furious 7, it's coming out on April 3rd, and then Fast and Furious Supercharged. That'll be added to the tram tour on June 25th. So get that annual pass and come back June 25th. Over and over. So that's coming there. It's going to be almost similar in a sense to Kong 360 with that wraparound screen, except from what I understand, from what I've seen, is then there's going to be KUKA arms on both sides of the tram with cars attached to it.
Oh, wow.
And it's going to be this whole big racing on both. So that way
Like
there's
an
a
actual
little
car? Like a...
Yeah.
like
Oh,
a car
cool.
on the KUKA arms
Yeah.
that are like
Yeah.
at Sum of All Thrills and of course Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey.
Okay.
That same technology with cars on it and
Going to
moving
work in
back and
conjunction
forth.
with the simulation on the screen.
Well, I
Awesome.
have to say, like, that Kong 360 thing, like, I don't like necessarily enjoy that Peter Jackson movie, but I thought that 3D in there was some of the best 3D
Well,
I've ever
first,
experienced.
you should like the Peter Jackson movie because it's an underappreciated movie.
Well, I haven't
It
seen it
is.
since it was like in movie theaters. I have it. I never had the
Okay,
time to
well,
watch
give it
I'll
another
give it another
chance.
go.
Do you think this 3D attraction will include some of the actors in the same way that Harry Potter does?
Oh yeah, I'm sure they're going to be in the cars and stuff around you as
Yeah.
well. I saw behind the scenes of making it, and The Rock was also a part of that, and I believe Vin Diesel too. So they're gonna be in these scenes.
Not Chris Bridges?
Is that ludicrous?
Chris Ludacris Bridges?
I thought that was him. I'm not really big on rap music, believe it
on
or
rap
not.
music.
It's pronounced Jeff Bridges. That's another
That's
thing.
Jeff.
So this has been like the longest segue into talking.
Sorry.
Just because we have to keep throwing out random things about the actors. That
Yeah,
are
this
in
is
there.
it's been tough. So the point, because this is the right now we're covering basically two Universal Hollywood stories. So the point coming around is Universal Studios Florida. It's inevitable at this point, I think, with
Yeah.
the success of Furious 7 and the fact that they still want to continue the franchise after it with,
I heard there's going to be at least 10. Was the goal?
oh my God. So it's going to be the police academy of its time. Just not as important and influential, but
Maybe they'll get Gutenberg on board.
it's inevitable that there's going to be a Fast and Furious attraction coming. How do we feel about that?
I'm okay with it. I mean, I think depending on what they do with it, I think it could be an attraction that you don't have to watch the movies to like just be like an exciting.
That's like the
thrill.
Transformers, you
Yeah.
know. Oh, they're Transformers for the young kids. It's like the Transformers ride. You know, you can appreciate the movie, and we talked about this in a segment not too long ago. Do you have to watch the movies to enjoy these attractions? And you know, I think you would. I probably would get more appreciation out of a ride like this for the Fast and the Furious if I had seen any of the movies, which I probably haven't. And but if not, I think it'll be a nice, high-speed, action-oriented ride that I can enjoy, and it won't make a difference.
JL, you seem like the type of person who likes Fast and Furious.
Yes.
What does that mean?
I'm
She
a-
grew up in South Florida.
Oh, okay. Never mind. I understand.
Sorry
They
for
filmed one
everyone
of them
from
here.
South Florida.
They filmed one of
Wow.
them here.
Wow.
The second one. It was in like Miami.
No one cares. JL, how do you feel if you would see this type of attraction? Not
Yeah.
just a Fast and Furious attraction, not necessarily a replica of the one they're doing in Hollywood.
Okay.
But just an attraction in general. How would you feel?
All right. So I'm throwing up my girl card here.
Okay.
And, you know, I'm sure that I would appreciate it on some level. I like going fast. And I, you know, cars, that's cool.
You don't like getting furious?
Sometimes I do
enjoy
as well.
50%.
Depends on my mood. But anyway, I'm sure I will appreciate this on some level. Will I really care? Probably not too much because I am not invested in this story.
You haven't
I-
seen? Have you not seen the movies? Or?
I have not.
Oh, I called it wrong
You
then.
know, I'm not
She
a
likes
big
wrestling.
Vin-
I just assumed cars.
I do like wrestling.
That's how much I know.
and The Rock's cool.
I do like The Rock.
Yeah, The Rock is awesome. I don't know. I've just never gotten around to Fast and Furious.
Okay,
So-
well,
His name is Dwayne.
Dwayne. Yeah,
Okay.
let's start being respectful and calling him either Mr. Johnson,
Mr. Johnson.
or Dwayne.
I do love Mr. Johnson.
So
He's a big fan.
we're kind of iffy on whether or not we care about Fast and Furious coming. How about a replica based on the way this ride sounds right now?
No, well, we don't have anything in place to support that, though. I mean, where would you put it? At the end of Disaster?
There's room back behind. There's room back behind Springfield and the Simpsons ride, and a little bit of room to the side of Men in Black. And honestly, just based on the building size and how big that Fear Factor stage is, I feel like it could even just be placed right on
Yeah.
that area if it was
Okay.
just like you go in and you're sitting in a ride vehicle and all this stuff's happening
I will
around
say
you.
this. If we can replace something like Fear Factor with an attraction like this, I am all on
Yeah,
But
board.
then
Board.
what happens to Bill and Ted?
Move it to the pet playland thing.
It's a
Yeah, it
show.
could go to
You can
Animal
put it
Acres.
Yeah, they need to get rid
anywhere.
of that.
Or
That's
they
a-
could bring back double park Halloween Horror Nights, and it could go back to the other
Yeah,
stage.
I'm
that's
not too
over in
concerned
Toon.
about Bill and Ted. I'm sure that we could get creative enough to, move Bill and Ted to another location.
Yeah.
If we could get in a really good, serious attraction and have it replace something
Dead
that's
Space.
basically Dead
Yeah.
Space, right, Rhino?
Because when I think
I'm all
about
on board
really
for
good
that.
and serious, I think about Fast and the Furious. Just putting it out there.
Hey, if it's fast paced, if
I
it's
see what you're
action, if it's thrills, great. I don't.
It
need
would
the-
be better than Fear Factor,
Right.
or
Here's-
nothing.
Here's my take on it too: is that I'm curious to see how Confrontation is going to be turned into its own separate attraction here. You know what I mean? Like our Jaws was different than their Jaws, and that's like, I want to wait and see when that opens, and then see like maybe there's going to be a more creative take on Confrontation for us. So maybe they'll do something a little more creative with Fast and the Furious for us too.
It's a very patient outlook, Rhino.
I have time. I can
It's
wait.
very patient. I think the one thing we can all agree on with this is that as long as they don't try to do a lights, motor, action style stunt show based around the Fast and the Furious, then we will all be extremely
Yes.
happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with that, I think we are going to end this definitely not fast, but absolutely furious buzz for this week. And we are going to roll right along into the mid-show shuffle, which I'm really throwing things around this time.
I know. I feel like we need some kind of little music or something for this.
Stop that. So I'm actually, it's been a while. It's been a long while at this point. We did the Universal Hall of Fame a couple weeks, months. I don't know. It was back in the past. We did it for Transformers: The Ride 3D. And we didn't have a large number of people finish up the answering the poll, but we did have a decisive answer, and that was Transformers will not be a part of
Nope.
the Diz Universal Hall of Fame,
Thank you.
That's a good call.
which I think it is a very good call. And I'm happy that everyone came out and supported our answers on that, and they did not vote it in, so we currently have nothing in the Universal Hall of Fame because we've
Isn't-
only done it once.
The hall is empty.
We'll probably go back to that in a couple weeks from now and try to get something else in. And we actually had
A nomination.
We had a nomination, and that came from, I deleted his name out of it, but it was Michael
Hi, Michael.
from all of my memories on it. He sent a really nice long email. I still haven't had time to reply to it because it was literally like 20 paragraphs.
It's
Oh, wow.
not Michael. It's Matt.
Matt, I apologize, Matt.
Matt.
I will answer your email, Matt, or I'm going to send it to Rhino or JL or Dustin so one of them can answer instead. And we will definitely get back to you. But I'm going to throw out your part about the Hall of Fame. So you said I already screwed it up. I really would like to nominate the Beetlejuice Show as a member of your Universal Hall of Fame. It's an awesome show that I know faithful Universal fans love. I know you guys hate on it, but come on. It's probably the most entertaining show in all of Orlando theme parks. Okay, not Fantasmic, but it's a great show. If anyone has seen the movie Beetlejuice before, seeing this show, it's impossible to walk away without a complete appreciation for how great the Beetlejuice character is. He is exactly like Michael Keaton, forget Bird or Batman. He sounds just like him. It's amazing. He's the most hilarious part of the show. I've seen like the last 3 versions of the show, and I think it keeps getting better every time. No kidding. They're not playing instrument, but they are all pretty decent singers. It's a fun show that I always make a point of enjoying, bless you, while I'm at Universal. I'd be interested to see what kind of response it would get from your listeners if you posed a poll question whether it was Hall of Fame worthy. And so right there, for our mid-show shuffle from Matt, we now have the next nominee to go into the Universal Hall of Fame. However, we have to all go and experience.
Yeah, I was going to say we can't do it yet.
I haven't experienced it in a year. I know you've never seen it.
Well, I saw it when I was like 6 years old or something.
That counts.
No, I'm sorry.
So you've seen many iterations ago
There's
of it.
a new version of it.
Have you seen it recently, JL?
I've
Or
never
ever?
seen it ever in my life.
That's what I thought. Dustin, I know you haven't seen it. Don't even try to church it up.
I've seen the movie
I
several
was just
times.
going to ask, has
The
everybody
movie's
seen
awesome.
the movie? Okay, good.
Yeah, we've all seen the movie.
The
We all
movie
appreciate
is a
the movie.
classic.
Yeah.
We should watch the movie and then go watch the show immediately after. I think that would be like a fun.
Because we are so on top of
I love Beetlejuice.
planning our group activities.
Well, whenever we go to do the research on our character meet and greet show, we'll have to all try to make an effort to also see Beetlejuice.
Two birds, one stone.
Yes. Oh.
That's violent.
So
know,
that will
sorry.
be our next nominee. We will get to that very soon, Matt. So thank you for nominating it. So I didn't have to go through a list of what in the world should we do our next Hall of Fame show on. We will do it on that. And with that, we are going to jump into our Spotlight on the Universe. Spotlight action. Woo. Spotlight, sparkle, something else.
Tony.
And of course, this week, if you listened to me earlier or paid attention to any of the social media posts or this, that, and the above, listened to us on the show in the past while, we've been getting a ton of emails and feedback from everyone. Some on Facebook, some in email form, some in Twitter form, some in YouTube comments, all over the place. And I compiled a select few, not all of them, and we'll kind of start going through and see which ones we can get through here without making this a 2-hour long show. We can always come back and do a second email show, potentially a third email show. I even got one voicemail that was sent directly into email, but I did not feel like putting it in this show because I feel like it would do better on the second show.
Okay.
So we're going to just jump right into this.
Actually, I think we haven't, but go ahead.
What?
We haven't jumped right into it.
No,
There's
we're
this
going. I
big
said we're
hole.
going to jump right into this. I'm trying to lose the structure.
All right, guys,
Jump.
jumping in 3, 2, 1, jump.
Okay, our first
jumped from
email was not even an email. It actually came from Facebook. I believe both of the first two that I'm going to combine together were both from Facebook. And if I got it wrong, then I got it wrong. But Adrian, who classified that Adrian is a male.
Thank you.
Otherwise, we knew that we were going to Adrian. And Aaron both kind of came together on a similar but not completely the same question. Adrian wants to know what mine and the team's favorite restaurants are at Universal. And then Aaron threw kind of onto it any restaurants you recommend that aren't heavy into alcohol for two adults that don't really drink. So let's try to throw out one of our favorite restaurants and
Cowfish.
then also a restaurant that you would recommend that maybe you could enjoy without having to partake in alcohol.
Are we including City Walk in this, or it is? Okay.
Universal-wide property. Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, actually, I kind of have to start off this one. I'm sorry.
ahead.
I kind of pushed you all out of the way. But any restaurants you recommend that aren't heavy into alcohol, all of them. You don't.
Yeah,
There
that's
is
what I thought.
no restaurant on property that you can walk in and not enjoy your meal just because you didn't get alcohol.
Right.
Did I say that right? I don't know.
I don't know.
I think everyone understands it though.
Maybe the implication is he and whoever he's going with, they don't want to walk into an area where they will be surrounded by a lot of intoxicated
It's
people.
like I'm imagining
Okay, I guess
he's
I didn't
saying
think about that, yeah.
not bar heavy. Like which one is a
Yeah.
bar and like a bar that also has food. Like, and I agree with you. I don't think any of them. I never felt like, oh, this one's where you go if you're just drinking and maybe getting a snack.
I think maybe that's what he's getting.
Yeah, if you don't want to be around heavily intoxicated people, I think there are 3 definite places to maybe try to keep on your avoid list. And the Cowfish is one of them. The food is great there, but there are also a lot of fun drinks there that you could really get out of control very quickly.
Do you remember the very exuberant party that sat next to us when we went?
Yeah, it can start to get really heavy into that. So I think it is one of the best restaurants in terms of food quality anywhere on Universal property, but it could be able to, you could get out of hand with other people drinking around you if you're uncomfortable around drunk
Okay.
people. Another place that would fill into that gap is Anahitos.
yeah.
Those are really
Oh, yeah.
big margaritas
rowdy in
with
there.
a lot
Tequila.
of tequila in them. I have never been drunk in Anahitos, I promise that.
And Hotes.
Are you?
Antijotes, yes. Sorry, Rhino.
Antijotes.
You've been confused because you didn't know which
I had
restaurant we
too
were
many
talking
margaritas
about.
there. I don't know.
And this one, there's not, if you're sitting upstairs, there's no bar. Well, there is a bar upstairs, but I feel the bar is less intrusive than the downstairs bar. It seems to be a bit louder to me whenever I'm there. And
Yeah.
that separation between bar and restaurant seating, actually in both upstairs and downstairs, there's not a real big separation. So if people are really laughing it up, having a good time drinking at the bar, I mean, the place is just loud in general, so it could start to get obnoxious. And then the last one, the best place to get drunk really quickly and cheaply at City Walk, Pat O'Brien's.
Yeah.
If you're actually going there to eat and you have a group of people on their second or third hurricane.
So you've basically turned this around and said these are the 3 places you should
Don't
avoid,
wanna go,
and then
right.
everything else is pretty much fair
Yeah,
game.
if you're really
would
trying
say-
to avoid an atmosphere where people might be drunk and you don't really like, you like enjoying a nice, relaxing, quieting meal without having a bunch of drunk people around you, these are the ones where I think it is possible to really get out of hand at, and you might see this type of behavior. But
I agree with you. Like, but I think like Pat O'Brien should be at the top of that list because 2/3 of that place, like, there's 3 sections of that restaurant, and 2/3 of them are bar. Like, one is a bar, sports bar, one's a piano bar, and then there's like seating in the back that's a little quieter. But that to me is, I always feel like it's very loud and rowdy.
so yeah, there is alcohol basically everywhere.
Yeah.
But you know, have fun. Still
Good call,
still
Craig.
go out and have a good place. But let's name one favorite restaurant anywhere. Parks.
Cowfish.
Okay, you're going with Cowfish. That's fine.
I really enjoyed
at City
it.
Walk.
Yeah.
That's good. You're allowed to. Dustin, I want to throw it to you.
Emeralds.
Good pick.
Yeah.
It's excellent food.
Excellent.
Were you with us whenever we did our City Walk 101, or were you not here that
No,
day?
I wasn't there, but I have eaten
That's
at
right.
Emeralds several times, and
Yeah.
I enjoy it quite a
I
bit.
wasn't there when you did that. And you ate at Emeralds.
I wasn't there either. Don't
Yeah.
worry about it.
I guess it was just Craig doing his own little City Walk 101. Or it was an old show.
We literally did a City Walk 101 a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, but we ate at Cowfish. That was our first thing we did.
I'm not talking about doing
talking
a
about the
dining
talk about
review.
it.
I couldn't
Oh.
remember if Dustin was here whenever we did that. Oh my gosh, Rhino. Us.
JL.
JL.
Okay, I have an in park one and an out of park one.
Thank you.
My out of park one actually is Vivo. I really enjoy
Excellent.
the atmosphere of that place. I appreciate that they can make really amazing vegan dishes. Wow.
I'm laughing at those two.
Like, I wasn't going for a comedic value here. Wow, keep the camera on me.
I'm going to have to go
Um,
with Vivo. You talk about it a lot, and you said you really enjoyed it. Like, I need to go there.
It is really good. Now, my in park one, Craig's gonna hate it, so I might be getting funny
If you
gestures
even
next.
say Mel's.
No,
Okay.
but I don't think you're gonna like this one either. Confisco's, did I say that right?
Where's that?
It's in Port of Entry.
I've actually never eaten there.
Oh, I love it. I think the food's really good, and it's very quick too. It comes out, the service has always been great. The food has been pretty good. I think it's a step above theme park food.
That like when you're taking the right to go into Seussland on the right over there, like the little
It's
thing.
at the
Yeah.
end of
It's got its own little
Port of
bar
Entry.
section too,
Yep.
I think.
Yep.
Okay, I
That's it.
didn't know there was like a.
I love it.
I've only done the bar there.
the-
I've eaten a few things there. I've never been disappointed, not once.
Cool.
That's actually a good recommendation. I've never eaten there. I want to obviously cover it one day, but
I thought you were like so anti any restaurant in the park.
no, I'm not. I just, in terms of stuff that I highly, highly recommend, like I would even recommend Mythos. It's definitely not the best, and I'm sorry, Theme Park Insider, but it shouldn't have been highly rated as the best themed restaurant in any theme park. That doesn't fly. But my picks, because I'll just kind of jump along with this. Out of a park, I'm going to go with actually the Bayliner Diner over at Cabana Bay Beach Resort.
Oh, good thinking.
I love the food, and it's obviously a quick service, but it's good comfort food. and it's always fresh. I haven't had a bad meal there. The tuna noodle casserole, I dream of it every night. We talked about it on the Resorts 101 enough, so I'll get off of that. Also, Mama Della's is excellent too. The kitchen as well. So I think it covered all that with City Walk. I have a new appreciation for Bread Box. I really enjoyed it after JL and I ate there, so I would now
a good
recommend that along with Hot Dog Hall of Fame. I love it too. Stay away from Margaritaville. Can't stress that enough. And Hard Rock Cafe and NBA City. Just avoid it. And then for In Park, the only two that I say you should not miss at all is Leaky Cauldron.
Yeah.
Not for breakfast, but for lunch and dinner. And then also just check out the Fast Food Boulevard over at The Simpsons. It's not healthy food. None of it is healthy. Even the carrots and celery sticks that you can get there are injected with fat, I'm sure. But it's really good.
That's
What's that?
my, like-
the one burger's called the Clogger. or
Yeah,
something
the,
like
like 2 things of meat and like just cheese, and you're like, oh, I can feel my chest tightening already as I go to get it. But I agree with him. Like that's one of my like go-to eat in the park places is always The Simpsons because I like the Duff beer. I think the food's it's a nice variety, and it's that or the Harry Potter
Yep.
restaurants on either side. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Angie from Milwaukee. I am loving the reboot of the Universal show. Oh, thanks,
Thank you, Angie.
Thank you. Especially since my daughter and I will be taking our first trip to Universal this summer. I found your discussions quite helpful in planning our trip. After listening to this past Thursday's show about Express Pass, I started to wonder about something. You talked about the castle tour of Hogwarts and how because it's so popular, the line that at one time was meant for Express will most likely never be used for Express, so castle tours can continue. That got me thinking, are there any attractions that have Express that you would recommend not using it on, at least the first time we ride, because the queue is so well themed, it's worth taking the time to go through the regular standby line to see? That is a great question.
That is a fabulous question. Now my brain is
I don't.
my gears are
So I
turning.
sent these to you last night, so you would have time to prepare on any of them if you needed to. Did anyone come up with anything for this?
No, I just thought like we talked about the Harry Potter one, like took you through a different way, not the Express Pass. What is it? The castle tour takes you through the side, like the room with all the paintings in it.
The portrait gallery?
Yeah, there's a second one, right? There's like a B side.
Yeah, the castle tour line, you can still see
It's just
basically the same. There's a couple things missing, including like outside in the garden and, or the greenhouse, sorry, not garden. And so there are slight differences
Well, there's
to the two.
Yeah, that's the only thing that like kept popping into my head, but that you would miss like the garden, but that's I mean, you can just get in line, go look at it, and get out of line. But that's the only attraction that I could think of that. But it's not
Dustin?
an Express thing.
Yeah, I would say even though it's not the most well themed queue, especially compared to like the Hogwarts Castle or anything like that, but the Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man, there's a bunch of cool like little hidden gems and secrets for comic book fans in terms of like the names on the doors of the Daily Planet, or what is it called?
The Daily Bugle.
Daily Bugle.
Superman works.
Yeah, it's not Metropolis. Stuff like that. You're going through the Daily Bugle, and there's some little hidden gems in there. I think it's worth taking a look at.
Universal does a great job at making sure that if you do use your Express passes wisely, that you still can get a somewhat great experience through the Express line. First off, they cut out how much you have to walk. So it's usually a much quicker way to get onto the ride, but then they'll try to throw in a little bit of the story as well too, because like Disney and like good theme parks, they want the line to be the start of the story. That's going to be the initial aspect of it. And some rides just do it better than other. Some you lose the story along the way. Some you're never sure of the story to begin with. The one I wanted to point out necessarily that you would want to do it at least once if you're a huge Harry Potter fan. Then Dragon Challenge, you'll miss out on seeing the Triwizard Trophy. If you don't continue, you'll see the Triwizard Cup or the Goblet of Fire. My apologies. Right before you cut off to go down the express stairs, but you'll miss out on the Triwizard Cup, and then also just a very short aspect of a little bit more Harry Potter themed stuff, some tapestries, the candles. That's the biggest one, though, I think, in terms of.
I think I'm struggling a little bit because I never use the express pass, so I'm not sure what gets cut out when you take the express lane. But what about Men in Black? I mean, they have those. That's a kind of a cool queue in some
that-
places.
You see all of it.
I think
You
you
do see
mentioned
all of
that
it?
too.
No, you do. You miss out on
The big room, right?
Really?
Yeah.
Because you come in,
Yeah.
so you come in, so all the weapons are lined up on that wall.
Yeah, you
when
miss
get
out on
in.
the weapons,
You
the
come in on the
interrogation
side
room.
of that room. Yeah.
I don't even. It's been a while since I've done Express at Men in Black, but I don't even believe you get to do the elevator experience.
So
in
that's
the
one that
beginning.
you probably wouldn't want to use your express. I love that queue.
Yeah.
You've seen
Yeah.
the little aliens working on
It
their
gets you in the mood
keyboard
because
and-
they play like the theme song in the
Totally
background too. You know
does.
that, and that's
Yeah.
such a catchy.
Well, the
like,
immigration
Danny Elfman
room's
tune.
awesome.
Yeah.
So just
what?
looking the immigration room.
Is that the big white room?
Yeah.
Yeah,
where
you know, with the
Where you
aliens
look
that
down
they're-
on it and.
That's what Universal's all about, being like on the set of a movie, and that's what I feel like when I'm in there. I'm in the movie.
But like
you know?
ET, you still get to go through the forest if you use their express,
cool.
just a shorter way, but you still get to feel that whole environment. I could just sleep in the ET queue, so
I know, it's fantastic.
I would go through the regular line as well as express.
Yeah,
You
I
both
wouldn't
get
miss the line for
but
ET.
I can't say that besides Dragon Challenge, there's
What
anything
about
that you'll actually
Transformers?
miss.
I don't know how the Express Pass works
You
for that,
do-
but they do tell a lot of the story in
Yeah.
that line.
You do miss out on a good amount, some of the props and stuff, but that's where
it's not
it comes
worth it.
down to. I can't say that any of the props really would necessarily be like, I just ruined my experience because I didn't see this or that.
True.
It all depends on how you feel. If you want to see every little detail of each ride and really know the story, go through the regular line. Don't use the express. But if you just want to cut out, if you're worried about missing out on stuff and you really want to use Express to make the most of your time, I would say now Men in Black and Dragon Challenge are
Okay.
the two that you definitely don't want to use your Express on because you'll miss out on some stuff. And I apologize if we missed out on some stuff. We'll just have to go to the parks and figure out some more. And with that, we'll move on to the next one. It's Maddie from Portland.
What's up, Maddie?
Maddie follows me on Twitter. She sometimes likes my stuff, favorites it.
Is it Matty or
She's off to a
Maddie.
good start already.
With a D.
Maddie.
Madison.
She has a fun last name. I'm not going to say it on air because that would be rude. She doesn't want to know. But
Here's her
congratulations,
address.
Maddie. She recently got accepted into the Disney College program.
Yay.
She's not going to be one of those lame Disney College program cast members who suck at their jobs, though. So
Good.
we applaud you for that. And she knows that she'll need to get over to Universal at some point. Now I will start talking as if she's reading this right now. I will not have a car with me, unfortunately. I know there are different ways to get from Disney property to Universal, but what would you recommend? Is there a general bus line that will take you to Universal, or do you have to plan out transportation well in advance? Hope I'm making sense here. Any advice would be appreciated.
From my memory, I don't remember Disney College program providing a bus to Universal in
Don't
terms
think
of
so.
the American lines that they run.
No, however, you can catch buses if you at least get over to Crossroads.
Yeah.
Then you can start taking buses
Like a Lynx
the
bus?
back way.
The public
Yeah.
buses?
Yeah.
I'm curious, like the because I worked with somebody at Disney that they used to have to take the bus to get to work, and they kind of live near I did at like the Millennia area, but the bus would have to bring them to downtown Orlando, and then they had to switch over and then come all the way back down to Disney.
Sometimes that
Yeah.
happens depending on where you live.
But my suggestion, like, because I don't like the public transportation here, is I would look into Uber or Lyft, maybe.
Absolutely, yeah.
'Cause we use those in California, and they worked out well for us. So.
Or
No.
look into taking a friend that has a car.
Yeah, make friends.
that is my highest recommendation. Yes, Uber is a very good service, and it should be able to get you over to Universal for a very reasonable price. If you're not going once a week, but the easiest thing to do is make a friend on the college program who has a car. If you haven't picked your roommate yet, maybe ask before you jump on a roommate, find out if they have a car, because that makes a world of difference.
Oh, yeah,
Both
completely.
myself and my roommate had a car, and no one else in my apartment had one. And so then we ended up driving them everywhere. And I never say I'll regret doing that, but it does start to be an inconvenience. But if they have a car, they might be interested in going to Universal too. Hop a ride with them. People go over to Universal a lot while they're on their college program. I know
Like-
I did.
Get
As
a
they
season
should.
pass, Yeah.
Yeah, just like, when you get to Universal and you've made a friend that's driven you there, buy them lunch or something.
Yeah,
exactly.
Just do something like that. Pay them back.
No, that's the best and fast way. And you don't want to go to Universal alone. You want to go with friends. You want to make memories.
Right.
All that junk. No. So, Maddie, I hope that helps you out. Just never text any of us and asking if you can get a ride. Well, you don't have our phone numbers. Don't tweet at us.
Maddie. You can tweet to me. I'll take you to Universal.
Well, I will make sure I put JL's phone number in the show notes. You're welcome. So our next one comes from Dave from Dave Land, I guess.
Man.
He didn't put down a location.
Sovereign.
So he says, this is our virgin trip to Universal and looking forward to it. Have been to WDW several times, but now that the kids are older and wanting to ride roller coasters, we are planning to do a hybrid trip to WDW, Universal, and SeaWorld. We are a family of 4, 2 kids, ages 11 and 8. Although I really like to keep expenses under control, I also like splurging and enjoying while on vacation. If you could provide a bit of your expertise, please, I would appreciate it. Here comes the numbers. 1, we are thinking of 2 days in Universal Parks. 2, we are planning on 3 days at WDW, Walt Disney World. 3, also want to do SeaWorld. Well, he spelled it SeaWard.
SeaWord?
The C
It's
word.
definitely SeaWorld.
The boat from Arrested Development.
And a water park, depending on the time of the year. So here come the questions. We're finally here. 1, looking at both Portofino and Royal Pacific. He's not interested in Hard Rock. I am heavily leaning towards Portofino as it just seems more relaxing, resort, a bit more upscale, and the rooms are larger.
It is.
Well, we just covered, the rooms are larger there. It is definitely more upscale than Royal Pacific.
I wouldn't say it's more relaxing.
I would.
I would actually argue that Royal Pacific is probably the most relaxing
I
in
love
terms of
Royal
the
Pacific.
atmosphere. That's just my opinion. Definitely, if you want the bigger room size and you want the more upscale and you want to feel that good,
That's Portofino.
Portofino all the way. But then again, Royal Pacific also, the rooms are still decent size there, and it is a deluxe hotel, so it's still upscale. It doesn't necessarily look as upscale because it has that great Southeast Asian, Pacific, Polynesian theming to it, which does add to the relaxing aspects. You can't go wrong either way. Just I'd say it'd come down to pricing too. If you don't want to spend $400 a night at Portofino while Royal Pacific's only doing $250 a night,
You're still going to be happy
Royal
at Royal
Pacific.
Pacific.
Do you happen to remember, did he send this email post the last show or before?
I believe it was post.
Oh, okay. Because I was going to say,
Maybe
if he
before.
hadn't, maybe he could check out the 101 we did about the hotel.
I don't look at dates. I just look at the email.
Well, I'm going to throw it out there, Dave.
Okay.
If you haven't seen that yet, last week we did a little
Resorts
introductory brief 101 on the resorts that might be of interest to you for that reason.
Before we do our 7 and 7, which is coming up more and more rapidly.
Yeah.
Yep.
If
We're
that
2 weeks out.
terminology
2 or 3
does
weeks
work. Yeah, it's coming. So stay tuned to that. We'll be doing our 7 resorts and 7 nights, which is really 8 nights because we're also combining a Royal Caribbean Land Sea package on the Enchantment of the Seas 4 days. The Universal Resorts, it's going to be great. Check that out later on whenever it's all coming out. Number 2 for Dave. If we stay at Universal for 7 nights, we get the Flex Pass. Is that worth it, or is it better to split the stay at a WDW hotel and Universal? Per an earlier show, it was suggested that the drive between the two is a bit of a pain, and we would be doing Walt Disney World for 3 days.
It's not a pain.
It's not that bad.
No, it's not. If you really want to stay there for the entire week, it's not that bad of a drive. It is at bad times. If you're
Right.
not smart about it, if you go first thing in the morning, no. But if you're going at noon hour or
Yeah.
rush hour, 5 o'clock, that's whenever you start to get into traffic.
Yeah.
issues.
Yeah.
Do they have a car? Are they renting a car? Did they mention?
Did not say. I would guess that they're going to rent a car.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't see it as a pain.
It's just gonna depend on the, like Craig said, the
They might
hour
even be
traffic. I-4 can get a little bit hairy, but you know, if you're smart about the times that you're driving it, it won't be terrible. I mean, certainly coming home won't be bad if they're waiting until the park closes and they're leaving late at night. The drive's gonna be easy.
Well, and the Flex ticket, which also provides access to SeaWorld, Aquatica, Wet and Wild, and the Universal Parks. I mean, that can start to be a great ticket if you're staying for that length of time.
Yeah, and
So-
he was saying since this is his first trip to Universal, I mean, I would say stay that time because you're gonna if you've been to Disney World several times, like he was saying, then this is going to give you. You're staying in a different area of Orlando, so this is going to give you kind of a different. It'll just be a completely different vacation experience.
You're saying take the
mix it
time
up.
to dig into the details of a new place.
Yeah.
Heck, I'll even go out there and say that you're talking about split stays going over to WDW for a while. Why not do that split stay between Portofino and Royal Pacific, since you're kind of tossing up between the two?
Not a
Maybe
bad
do
idea.
4 nights at Portofino, 3 nights at Royal Pacific. I would maybe do Royal Pacific first, just in case you feel like Portofino is going to be better, so you're not as disappointed. But I'd stay on property the entire time. And if you need a travel agent, Dreams Unlimited Travel, helping you plan the perfect Universal vacation. Of the various water parks that...
This is number 3.
Is this the same
Sorry,
guy?
number 3.
Yeah.
Of the various water parks,
Yeah.
what would you suggest? Aquatica? Wow, Aquatica. That's not a thing. Dolphin Cove, Wet and Wild, Thinking Not, good call. Typhoon Lagoon, or Blizzard Beach.
I've only ever been to the two Disney water parks.
I have only ever been to Blizzard Beach.
You've never been to Typhoon Lagoon? You can swim with the sharks there.
I guess I'll take this one then, unless Dustin wants that in. Nope.
No, I haven't.
Okay, Wet and Wild, it's not a bad water park. It's like
Oh.
a water park anywhere else in the world.
I have been to Wet and Wild, but
Yeah.
it was a while back.
There's no theming. It's not
No,
that.
there's no
It's not
theming.
that experience like you'll get with Blizzard Beach and Typhoon Lagoon
Yeah.
or Aquatica. Dolphin Cove, swimming with dolphins. That's some people thing. That's not mine. I think they're going to try to eat us one day. It happened on a
rise up.
Simpsons episode, so it will happen in real life eventually.
They also have lasers that they can put on their head.
Yeah, on their freaking
Sharks
heads.
with freaking laser
Yeah,
beams in there.
it's you just start to get dangerous
Sea
with
bass.
aquatic animals. So
Are they ill-tempered?
When they say Dolphin Cove, do they mean Discovery Cove?
probably.
Okay.
I didn't even know that was a water park. I thought it was just swimming with dolphins.
What,
to be honest with you.
Aquatica?
It's a water.
I knew Aquatica
It's an
was a
experience.
one, but yeah.
There's different things you can experience there.
Okay.
So in my opinion, I actually don't like Blizzard Beach that much.
I like Typhoon
It's
better.
I prefer Typhoon. I think it's more relaxing. I think it's a better experience.
More
It doesn't feel
shade.
like more shade. It doesn't
Better
feel
wave
like a
pool.
concrete jungle. I think there are some awesome slides at
Blizzard Beach.
At Blizzard Beach, don't get me wrong. It is cool, but for a one day at a theme park, at a water park, I would say between Aquatica or Typhoon Lagoon.
I actually am going to agree with what you're saying because while I haven't been to Typhoon Lagoon in the sense of experiencing the water park, I've been to Typhoon Lagoon because I was doing some interviews there. So I've seen it, and the atmosphere is very different, and you definitely nailed it. Blizzard Beach, even though it's supposed to be all snow and whatever, just definitely feels more asphalty.
Yeah. Well, the Typhoon Lagoon's got the better wave pool than Blizzard Beach. It's got the water, like it's like a roller coaster, but but you're in a raft, so it like goes down and then it shoots you back up, it's an experience. And then you can swim with the sharks, baby sharks or whatever. But so all around, I would definitely say Typhoon over that one. Aquatica is the newest of all these water parks too, though, so it might be like I don't know.
Well, Aquatica or Typhoon. The final question in Dave's questioning. Any other suggestions that you may have in planning? Is it better to do Universal first or WDW first, or anything else you may suggest to plan enjoying the trip? That we won't get into it, but I will cover the Universal first or WDW first. I think personally, your first time at Universal, don't do your days at Walt Disney World first, especially if you're big fans of Walt Disney World,
Yeah.
because sometimes then you'll go into it with that, oh, we just wish we could have spent our entire time there and we just want to go back over there. We're not having it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like with that whole split stay with a cruise aspect. If you take your cruise first, you just spent the entire week not having to spend any money on the cruise except for extra alcohol and souvenirs, and then all of a sudden you get off and you're like, oh my gosh, I have to pay $20 for a cheeseburger and fries where I could just get as many as I wanted on a cruise line.
Yeah, you feel the sting a little more.
Yeah.
Well, and it goes back to better be safe than sorry. You know that you love Walt Disney World.
Save it
So
for last.
save it for last because that's a sure thing for you guys.
Right, exactly.
That's basically what it comes
It's the
down to for
dessert.
me. You're going to love Universal, but you already know that you love
Yeah.
Walt Disney World. So
I have something to throw in here as well.
Awesome.
I don't know if did you get to the part about SeaWorld yet, or are you going that far with this?
No, just throw out a random SeaWorldness.
Okay. What I would do is, at the beginning of his email, he said that he had newly aged teenagers that are interested in roller coasters, I would suggest skipping SeaWorld and throwing in Busch Gardens instead. For this particular instance, I think the roller coasters at Busch Gardens Tampa are a little bit better. And if you have a rental car already, it's an hour drive. You're going to get a lot better roller coasters at Busch Gardens than you would at SeaWorld. That's
Yeah. I completely
Well-
agree with that. I do love Kraken and
Yeah.
Manta.
I
but
don't know if I agree with that. I actually have children that are around those ages, and here's why. The ones at Busch Gardens are fantastic, but they're intense. SeaWorld also has really fantastic roller coasters, but they're still of the caliber that maybe a younger kid can enjoy
Well,
it rather than feel like they're facing death.
They only have 2 roller coasters and then technically Atlantis. Or,
Right. And,
And,
they're great. My kids love
yeah.
them. Especially Manta. That
But
was
if
a
you're
big
not
hit.
interested in going there to watch the actual shows and the orcas and the dolphins and the new Clyde and Seymour show that I haven't seen yet, but I'm super pumped for it.
No, you're just
actually,
ready
it
to
is my
go.
favorite show there. I love Clyde and Seymour. They're now going to Sea Lion High, and if you're not interested in doing that and you were just looking on a roller coaster aspect, I agree with Dustin. Go over to Busch Gardens. Then you get animals and you also get
Yeah.
A lot
roller
more-
coasters.
a
A
lot more
lot
variety.
more roller coasters and a good variety of them too. And that was a great multi-tiered question by Dave. I hope we helped you out a little bit. I'm going to close out the question and answering at this point. And we will pick up with it on another show with the couple other questions that we actually have left. So thank you guys for sending them in at this point. It's been a really big help in getting new information out there that maybe we hadn't thought of. And that kind of goes into that housekeeping. If you want to send any emails to us, go on to disunplug.com. And that's that's where you're going to find our show notes page. And on our show notes page, you're going to see contact information for our email address at uopodcast@disunplug.com. That's where you can send us any feedback you have for us. It's going to have links to our Facebook, Twitter, and then you can find links to all the other shows and how you can learn about them on YouTube and iTunes, where you can also comment, review us, all that good stuff that we need to have feedback for. So that way we know if we're sucking or not. It's really hard to figure it out sometimes. And
Wow.
So just keep sending in your questions and comments on all those. Subscribe to us on YouTube, iTunes. I already said review it. Do it now if you haven't yet. Review it, do it. There's nothing to it. Can't get much perfecter than that, in my opinion.
I love the perfect.
And don't forget about leaving a voicemail while you're on that contact page on the Diz Unplugged website. And that's all of it in a kid and caboodle. So I think that's going to do it for this episode of the Diz Unplugged Universal Edition. We'll be back next week for our character meet and greet show. But until then, see ya.